Yes, indeed, that was a commercial for the spoils, and this is Blue Please here on WoW Radio with myself, Total Biscuit. Welcome to the show. If you just tuned in, you've missed a lot of it. Unacceptable. Download the archive. WCRadio.com, our downloads page, has everything we've ever done. Give or take a few missing archives that we're trying to track down. Honest, we don't know where they went. We think Leto ate them. To be fair, he is very poor. He does need the food. He's a little bit stringy, as anyone who's watched his webcam will sadly have seen. Ugh. Anyway, yeah. The spoils. Sounds really awesome, to be quite honest. I'm hoping to get my promo stuff through very, very soon, which will allow me to play it. It's got all sorts of cool stuff in it. It's like a card game designed for geeks, which sounds really, really fun to me, including such cards as the one-legged hopping pogo bear, with abilities such as Ra, which, to be fair, sounds really, really good. It also has a card called the Series of Tubes, which is this giant sort of, like, tubular construction. It's got a little sign next to it with a big truck with an X through it. And I find that hilarious. That is my thing. So yeah, check it out, spoils.com. There should be something that myself and Kiki will be playing very, very soon, and maybe we'll video it for you. I think it'll be a feature of my next party. Haha. So, on we go with the show. Now, my next topic. Heroics. Now, I've always been a big proponent of heroics. I think they're really, really cool. At least the idea, anyway. So, what's right and what is wrong as regards to the spoils? Not the spoils. I'm an idiot. Oh, what is right and what is wrong as regards to heroics? I shouldn't read IRC while I'm trying to do a show, because things get into my mind. Like, what is right and what is wrong with cat people? Well, yeah. Anyway. Heroics. Of course, what's the idea behind a heroic? Those of you who may have not done heroic, perhaps you are listening and you've never done heroic before. What's a heroic? A heroic is a hard mode version of an existing instance. Now, if it's a sub 70 instance, all the loot will be different, and everything will be pretty much leveled up to 70. If it is a 70 instance, a lot of the loot will in fact be the same, except for the ending loot. And the end boss always drops an epic. Now, this sounds cool until you realise that most of these epics are in fact gems, which are not particularly amazing. The last epic drop I got from a heroic instance was a gem, and it was, I believe, what was it? I think it's 5 spell damage and 6 spirit. Now, that is not very good, especially not for an epic. You can buy gems that are better than that. But anyway, that's beside the point. A lot of the epic items themselves are actually particularly good. If you want to pop to Wowhead, I will give you a prime example of a decent epic that drops in a heroic, so you can compare it to existing raid epics. Now, I feel this is quite an important thing to do, because comparing heroic epics and heroic gear to raid gear gives a little bit of validity. What the hell? Validity. I am really screwing up today. This is absolutely terrible. So here we go. Right, let's have a look. Now, I am searching for, specifically, something off of Sethik Hall's final boss. The Talon King, specifically. You should know him. Well, let's find him. Talon King Ikis. The end of the Sethik Halls. Heroic drops. Does not... Yeah, there we go. Terok Shadow Staff. Now, this is what I'm specifically looking at. This is an epic. Terok Shadow Staff. 39 stamina. 41 intellect. 35 spell crit, which is an incredibly high spell crit. And 150 damage and healing on a staff. Now, let's do comparison, shall we? Get out your second Wowhead window. Open it up. Have a look at wowhead.com. And let's have a look at, say, something which is about on the same level. Say, the Staff of Infinite Mysteries. Staff of Infinite Mysteries. And there goes Wowhead. Now, the Staff of Infinite Mysteries is 159 damage. It's got more stamina, more intellect, but it's got no crit. It's, in fact, got hit on it. Now, for instance, the Terok Shadow Staff is, in fact, significantly better for me if I were wanting to go staves, because I am a mage, specifically a fire mage, plus hit is not amazingly useful to me, and I already have enough of it as it is. So I would, of course, be picking Terok Shadow Staff over the Staff of Infinite Mysteries, which means that it's a heroic item from an instance which is not that hard, which is in fact better than a Karazhan level epic, which is always interesting to see. Now the question is just how valid is that? Is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? Now, to be honest, I would say that that is pretty decent. I would say that mid-level Karazhan equivalency from heroic level items is probably about right. Now, Karazhan can of course only be run once per week, and there's not a massive amount of gear in there for me. It seems to be a bit paladin heavy. We've had a lot of healer loot drop, a lot of upgrades and not even upgrades. For instance, I picked up some boots from there, which were in fact worse than the Shattrath jumpers, which you are no doubt well aware. They're a quest reward from the Shadow Labs quest line. You don't even have to do a heroic for it. The Shattrath jumpers are better than these epic boots. I'm leaving them in the bank just in case they get stealth buffed in the future, and I do hope they do, but to be honest, that might as well be a shard right there. Not too good. And they dropped from... oh, I can't bloody remember. But anyway, they dropped from Karazhan. And they're worse than the blues. So, heroics. Are they bridging the gap? Is that their purpose? Now, heroics are on I believe it's a one-day cooldown, which is fair enough, because there are a lot of them. And of course, if you are wanting to acquire a certain item known as the Badge of Justice, then you'd just be running ramparts over and over and over again for quick and easy. Now let's have a look at the Badge of Justice. What does the Badge of Justice allow you to do? They allow you to acquire certain epic items from a vendor in Shattrath City. Now that is not necessarily a bad thing either, because some of those items are really quite nice. I would hit the offhand, perhaps 2 times, the fiery one particularly. It is quite nice, it's got very high fire damage on it, it's got some crit, it reminds you specifically of the book you could get in Alterac Valley. It's very much a high DPS offhand that's not stat heavy, which is what some people want. There's a lot more stats now on one-handers than there used to be due to the way that itemization has changed, particularly with stamina. A lot more there, a lot more available. Now, Badge of Justices, they can be acquired by anybody. If you are in the heroic group, you get Badges of Justice regardless. Everyone gets one, approximately, per boss. And that's cool, because you can eventually build up your Badge of Justice and get something nice and shiny. Can we call it casual content? Here's the question. Is it casual? That, you know what, it seems to be the test that everything has to pass these days. Is it a casual, friendly idea? Hum, hum, hum. Difficult question. The answer is yeah, no. Or yeah. As in, it's incredibly difficult to come to a conclusion. The best way to have a look at it is to look at the difficulty of the instance. Now, in a heroic instance, you would expect bosses to do new things and expect everything to be a little bit more difficult. However, this is not always the case. Take a look at... let's do some comparisons. Let's compare Blood Furnace and Ramparts Heroic. Now, Ramparts Heroic, the second boss, has the Aura of Betrayal or Treachery or something like that. Treacherous Aura, I can't remember, but it's still there. Now, if you get that, and people are near you, they take about 4k damage a tick. Bad, nasty, evil. However, in the normal instance, they would take far less, as in Omok is an absolute joke in the normal instance. Now that's quite a significant difference. However, Blood Furnace bosses are exactly the same. Completely. They have no new abilities, to my knowledge, from what I can see whatsoever. The last boss, the Breaker, is exactly the same, but they drop better loot. Now, you'll now say, well, why don't we just run heroics? Well, there's 2 reasons for that. The first, you require everyone in the party to be revered with that particular faction in order to do it, and secondly, the trash is a lot harder. A lot harder, and I really do mean a lot harder. The trash in some heroics hits harder than Karazhan trash. Prime example. Anyone who has been hit by the Fell Guards in the Blood Furnace heroic will know that they hit like trucks. You have to spam heal just to keep a tank alive, no matter how well he's geared. We have had good tanks go in there and be torn apart by Fell Guards in a couple of hits. The Fell Guards kick the snot out of anybody. They've hit me, and they've hit me for 10k. Straight away, dead. Good game, no reply, nothing I can do about it. A lot of them are also not so crowd controllable. Probably the most disgusting example of enhanced trash would be in Old Hillsbrad Heroic. Old Hillsbrad Heroic, you'll remember Old Hillsbrad had those patrols at the bottom where you had to kill in order to get into the buildings, to blow up the buildings, to cause the riot, blah, 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 blah. Now, that trash looks exactly the same, and you think, oh, this will be easy, until you realise it spawns 3 uncrowd controllable elites as well every time you pull a pack. So it's just throwing a lot more at you to slow your progress. But there hasn't been a lot of changes to bosses. Some have. I have not been to Shadow Labs Heroic as of yet. I am not up there with that particular faction. However, it's interesting to note that from what I've been told, Murmur starts at a far higher health. He does not start as weak as he does in the normal one, even though his boss abilities may not necessarily have changed. Now, that's what I'd kind of expect out of a Heroic. I'd expect bosses to be harder. I'd expect Trash to maybe be a little bit buffed, but not to the degree that they are. Some instances have got it right. Say Rampart's Trash, I believe, is just right. Blood Furnace Trash, except for the bloody Fell Guards, is just right. Slave Pen's Trash is alright. Underbog Trash is fine, although the Giants and the Lords are an absolute nightmare, but you expect to deal with that. Anyone that's raiding Karazhan and has some Karazhan or equivalent level gear can deal with it, and they can get some rewards out of the Heroics. There is gear available. For instance, right now I'm shooting for the full Mana Etch set, which at this point in time is only going to be outclassed for me by pretty much full Tier 4. It is likely that I may in fact bypass acquiring the Tier 4 gloves in order to stick with the 4-piece set bonus from Mana Etched, which is nightmarishly good. Also, the 2-piece set bonus from Mana Etched, which is, again, a generic set available from Heroic instances, and I believe other DPS classes also have similar sets available. It's obscenely good. Really, really good. It's very desirable. I would hit that. Now that's fine. That's what I expect out of Heroic. I expect, and I would have liked to see, upgraded versions of all the class Dungeon Set 3s. You know, the Dungeon Set 3.5s for every class. But they made these generic sets that kind of work for various classes, and okay, that's fine. And some of the gear is really, really nice. But I do wonder about some of it. For instance, today we had something I believe was called the Starlight Dagger, or Starlight Knife, or something like that. And it dropped from the Betrayer, first Heroic boss in the Slave Pens. Now, that item is the equivalent and arguably worse than items that you can just get out on normal 70 instances. And now, when I look at that, it does seem like, well, what's the point in having that gear in there in the first place? It does seem like filler gear, very much so. It's like Blizzard tried to balance, they tried to strike this balance, specifically between going and doing your normal instances, then going and doing your Heroics, and then going and doing your dungeons, your raids. Here's an example. Go and look for this. Go to Wowhead and look for an item called the Will Breaker. This is the sword that I currently use. It is acquired from Heroic Blood Furnace. It has 15 stamina, 14 intellect, 60 armor, 17 spell crit, and 121 damage. Now compare that to the Rune Song Dagger. The Rune Song Dagger has 20 spell crit, 121 damage, 12 stamina, and 11 intellect. It's the same thing, effectively. The item might as well be the same. There's such a minor difference. Now, are you telling me that Heroic Blood Furnace is easier than Shattered Halls? Are you telling me that Shattered Halls is harder? You know, is it easier? What is it? It's like they didn't really know what they were doing there. They smudged the boundaries so much, and maybe they're just so afraid of making their amazing raid gear useless that they really, really just don't know what to do with it. I think that's probably it, to be quite honest. I'm not going to say that Heroics are a bad thing, because in my opinion it's one of the best things they could have done, and they should spread it on. They should make Heroic level, as I've said before, Legacy Raid content. Molten Core, Blackwing Lair, Anchorage, Naxxramas, even Zul'Gurub. Make it Heroic, and make people have a reason to go there again, because people did quite enjoy doing that content, and I would not say no to going back into Nax. Recently I did, just for the hell of it. It was fun. We pugged up to Gluth. And it was a great laugh, even though the gear was useless to us. The Heroic principle, I feel, is probably one of the most promising ideas within WoW at present. I believe it needs applying to more things. Hard mode content, for people that want to do it, is great. Reusing old content and giving it a new spice and a new spin and new items is genius. It's easy. It's easy to do. Blizzard could do it quite easily with any instance, and it wouldn't make a blind bit of difference, and it would still be worth doing. Even if it's just a recolor of existing gear that's already in there, I wouldn't care. I would do it, and I would love every single bloody minute of it. But it's not being done at the moment. And that kind of disappoints me. However, it's not going to stop me from running heroics. I'm loving it. I really am. And I do actually feel that they're a great way to sharpen up the skills of your guild and their ability to work as a team. Because you can't really have many mistakes in heroics. If you pull aggro, you say bye-bye. You are the dead. It's not good. So yeah, conclusion, heroics. Really nice. Trash. Overly difficult in some raids, but not others. It does seem to me that they didn't really think it through and they didn't do a proper comparison. Gear, again, very, very hit and miss. Some very worth having. The epics, definitely. Some of the epics are completely worthless. Some of the blues, great. Some not so great. Mixed bag, but worth a try if you haven't already. This is Blue Please here on WoW Radio with myself, Total Biscuit. Here's some rap in the forums. Hide behind the sofa. Yo, 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 faux shizzle and so forth. It's time for yet another edition of the one and only Rap in the Forums, where we take the worst forum posts we can find and turn them into hip-hop beats and everyone runs for cover. Boom, boom, says Basil Bush. Okay, let's go. This one's called Leveling on Old Servers, yo. Is a waste of time. Apparently, from Argyle. He's from the Khadgar server. Oh, yeah. Let's go. It's a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4. Currently working on a level 49 warrior and a Euro server I have literally encountered as a read as an idiot in 36 hours on my week and so far. People laugh for all your politeness and patience are simply too stupid or anti-social. The group we're trying to get. People, for instance, as a group, because it's nearly impossible as all the decent players level up at the start. And everyone leveling up is left with the dregs of the community. It has been like this on the previous 3 servers, aged 3 to 12 months old. Leveling tunes for a fresh start. No wonder all those ghost servers remain empty. You'd have to be out of your bloody mind to want to start on them. If you have absolutely any inclination to do some group work or play your class that favors working with others, it beggars belief. We're not talking people unsure of the class role as it's their first tune, although overly compliant. But people would give the impression that they are trying to disengage as many brains as possible while leveling up their character. For the love of God and all that is holy, amalgamate ghost servers and bring out fetchers for the summer in purgatory. So all this venting is really about some give new server they were quit. I am on a realm which has been going strong for 2 years now, and the people here are decent enough, and why shouldn't history repeat itself? And do the same in the fresh realms, which have been done to the ones you have rolled on. Who said anything about quitting? 99% of the WoW community has come. It's the same on every server.
It's over 9,000!
Well, I'm curious why you think a fresh server will be any better. Anyway, everyone expects sub 70 groups to be crap, just level to 70 solo. Rep grind needed from low-level instances to gain access to endgame. We'll make this a reality on no service for new players also sigh. I'm sad to see that your character there is on the same row as my hunter. First of all, 3 months is not old. That's a fairly new server. Second, new elves are the worst of all when it comes to morons. When every peak came out, I decided to roll an undead rogue just to see what all the fuss is about, and I couldn't even do the standing area quests in peace without getting spammed with dueling requests and people doing /chicken when I cancelled because I wanted to quest. It's not just a horde thing either. Well, a couple of patches ago I created a character on the PTR as soon as it went up, and I couldn't even get to Iron Forge from the dwarf standing area without getting spammed with dueling requests. Not to mention that the majority of people rolling on this service are the infinitely re-rolling crowd, which is really the lowest form of intelligence in WoW, and the majority of them will have gone back to their old characters or created new ones within 3 to 5 weeks after the server release. All the decent players leveled up at the start, when anyone leveling up is left with the dregs of the community. I intend to level up with the server's best and brightest as I do with my true and bloody good times. Yeah, it's alright leveling to 70 solo with a class such as my druid. Though I have a silly tendency of rolling classes that due to the sheer tedium of constant soloing Fever. Group work regularly.